Welcome to Jennifer Owen. Thank you to be here and thank you for accepting my invitation to talk together about audio forensics. We have 6 hours of time zone and jet lag between Italy and New Jersey. Now in Italy it's 4 in the afternoon and in New Jersey it's 10 a.m., right? Correct?
Correct, yes.
So you are one of the most famous audio forensics in the world, and you have been audio forensics since the 90s. And I'm reading your CV that is it's incredible. And you in 2001, for example, you obtained a master's degree in criminal justice, and from 2010 you start your own company of forensic services. You got hundreds of audio, video, and voice identification cases and voice comparison analysis. I mean, a huge experience. But can you tell in your words, what is audio forensics?
Well, it's a lot bigger than what it used to be. It's a big umbrella that has, a lot of small chapters underneath it now. Before, it wasn't even audio forensics. It was audio engineers, and maybe we'll find somebody that can clean up a recording, that's an audio engineer or somebody that makes records. It didn't become audio forensics until they started using people with audio background to testify in the courts here in the United States. Now, I don't know how that works in Italy or what process you have to go through to be accepted in the courts, but it's a rigorous standard over here. So as the discipline developed, we needed to get more education, more training, be up to date on all the software that was necessary. We couldn't just, a lot of people, they have a studio and they say, oh, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. And then they get into the American court system and the other attorney takes them to task for their lack of training and discipline in forensic audio. And then that's no good.
That's not good, yeah.
That's no good. No. Just saying I'm an audio engineer is or I have background in music or critical listening, it's not enough. It's not enough anymore. It's a much bigger field with a lot of disciplines underneath it.
Yeah.
So we just can't run into the studio anymore and say, hey, we can restore that for you. No problem. And then if someone like that gets to court and then they don't know the standards or, what we're supposed to be doing forensically for chain of evidence and authentication and tampering and alterations and modifications. So it's really grown into its own discipline.
Yeah. In Italy, for example, there is a lot big confusing about let's say the attorney, the judge, people also they are confusing audio forensics with the transcriber, just people that make transcription, or audio forensics with audio engineering, with somebody that they are recording the disturbance of the neighbors, but it's not the same. And I'm trying to. Let's say it's like a desert of information in Italy because we don't have a big past of audio forensics. We are improving, but we don't have, let's say, any rules at the moment. And they are confusing, everything is confused, digital forensics, audio forensics, linguistic, maths. And so I try to explain everybody, hey, I'm an audio forensics. I know that maybe you don't know my business, but it's really complicated. And I'm not just an audio engineer. I come from audio engineering, but it's another matter. Audio engineering is matter maybe more for music and for making a great album, but it's not audio forensics.
It's just as important. It's just a different discipline.
Yeah.
And if I give you some history, if I may, about the evolution of this, my father was in this business since the 70s. I trained under my father. He's also on my website because he started this company way back. Now, in the 70s, my father was a record producer. He was an audio engineer at Lincoln Center in New York City. And he was in charge of audio restoration of all the old masters and the
So
tape.
with the bobbin, with the tapes, because it was physical, right? Not digital.
Correct. So I came in as a young girl coming to work with my dad, seeing what he does, being very interested. And I was a little girl at the time, so it's not like I was working on cases. But the importance of this is the history is that while he was doing audio restoration for the old cylinders and the reels and the tapes and the old records and all of that things, is that the New York City Police Department had reached out to him in the 70s. Now, when they used to do recordings, undercover drug buys, in interrogations, investigations, they recorded. Sometimes there were good recordings. So this was the first reach out from the law enforcement community to somebody to clear up these so if they can be intelligible and be heard in court, and to testify to the methods and what was done to withhold the integrity of the recordings and maintain there were no modifications, and the only thing we did was make it more intelligible and easier to listen to. So that was the start way, way back when. And that was my father's relationship with law enforcement, and that's how it grew. And it came to the point where he had so much work from law enforcement that he quit his job at Lincoln Center, which is one of the most, famous centers in New York City and around the world for this type of thing. And he actually went on his own. And his company was Owl Investigations. Now, I joined his company in 1995. But I spent every summer, of course, working. I had no choice. Whether I liked it or not, I was born into the audio industry. I had no choice.
But sorry if I make this question, but I make this question as a father. How a little girl can be interested in audio restoration? Because it's not music. It's something, let's say, sometimes boring, very technical, right?
It's very technical, but as a young girl, I love music. My family is very musical. I was always surrounded by music. And to see as a young child the before and the after of the recordings, that's what interested me. I thought it was like magic. I thought it was so cool and that my dad was a wizard.
Che bello, bellissimo, bellissimo.
And he made all these wonderful things happen. I was too young to understand the work and the minutiae and everything that went into, how we got there. But the before and after, the terribleness, and then the magic happened, and then how, amazing and how great it was to listen to after the fact. That is what always interested me.
So, if I understood well, you started following your father. You started first with the music engineering or directly with the audio forensics?
Well, I wasn't engineering because I didn't mix records, and I watched him work because I had no choice. He worked all the time, and he had his own studio, and he was a musician, and so it was constant learning just by osmosis, just by being around. None of us had a choice. All of my brothers, we're all musical in some way or another. It's just by being around, growing up that way. But I went off to college, and I thought I wanted to be a lawyer, an attorney, and then I said, no, God, this is not for me. And then I went to help my dad in 1995. I thought it was just going to be a summertime thing until he got more help, and then I stayed. But at the time, this was the dawning of a new era. This was the dawning of video. This was the dawning of cell phones and so on and so forth. So my part at that time was, yes, I want to do audio. Yes, I want to do voice comparison. Yes, I want to do all these things. But hey, I want to expand what we do, and I want to bring video into the fold and underneath the umbrella of what we do, which has been very helpful for me in my career, because now, back then, it was audio or video. You didn't have both.
Okay, right. For example, I don't make video. I don't make video forensics, but just audio forensics. And I got enough job just with this. But it's interesting.
My pet task is I always wanted to be able to do both, because you find it sometimes it works hand in hand.
Yeah, I agree because I had a case in which as an interesting case actually for a football match, a very famous football match that I had to check the labial. I don't know if the word is correct in English, but the labial, the moving of the
Yes.
in order
The lip, the movement of the lip.
of the lips for to check the words, and I had help of linguistic people and of the sign language for people that cannot hear, and deaf, right? Deaf.
Yes,
My English is poor. I'm very sorry for the listener, but
No, not at all. I completely understand, and that's the other beautiful thing about audio forensics. We get to work with linguists and sign language masters, so many people in so many different aspects to make our work, so we can present our work at its best.
yeah. And, you have been consulted for several high profile. I read Mel Gibson, Osama bin Laden, Woody Allen, Mia Farrow, Lady D. Today was died the Queen Elizabeth. I'm really sorry because I liked her profile, and also Bruce Springsteen, Elvis Presley, and Donald Trump. So, how is to be involved in the middle of the storm of newspaper article and very important profile like this? How is it?
Well, it's exciting. It's exciting. For example, the Elvis Presley was an undiscovered recording of him, a basement tape of him jamming with Jerry Lee Lewis. I mean, it was, it was phenomenal.
Mamma mia. As a musician,
those are the good celebrity cases. Those are the wow and the so much fun, and it's all good publicity. And it's and you love to share that kind of information and joy with people.
When we are talking about audio forensics, especially in Italy, we are always sad. Yes, because these people is listening something that doesn't exist because of psychoacoustic and so on. But you're smiling. I'm smiling. So it's like if I'm happy that you are talking about our subject in a funny way, because we don't have to be serious all the time, even if we are making a really serious job, because we are working for cold cases, for homicide, and for let's say very, very sad matters sometimes, right?
Yes. Well, I mean, it's not the best of circumstances, and they're not happy occasions, but there's always a silver lining. We could be helping close a case. We could be helping to catch a killer. We could be helping and assisting law enforcement to bring closure to these families, and to give them a sense of peace. So in that sense, you are bringing something more than sadness and to a terrible tragedy.
Yeah. Grazie, because there is a funny. No, I signed some small question because which famous case was touching you more inside? For example, children, or there is something that you're still thinking at night or early in the morning.
Trayvon Martin. Trayvon Martin. That's indicative of what's going on in the United States right now, and that was one of the first cases of that type of behavior that we're seeing that's more common in the United States, because now we're getting a bunch of cases that allege police brutality, against the African American community, and it's just every other week. So to be a part to try to assist to bring justice to that young man without disclosing any confidential information, that gives me a lot of satisfaction. That gives me a lot of that I'm doing something for the greater good, for the good of the people.
Okay. I take the occasion to ask you also this. There are some gender problem in America. You are audio forensics. You are a woman.
Yes.
You had some problem because of this?
I don't want to call it a problem, but there are more roadblocks. There's more hurdles. There are more obstacles, which is funny to me because if you know of all the audio testing and all the analysis they've done, and that women are better critical listeners than men.
Absolutely, I agree.
So that's the funny part of saying, and you have to understand that not so much now because it is getting better. It is getting better. But in the past, the people you work with, whether it be attorneys or law enforcement, they're mostly male.
Yeah.
So, coming to a female, maybe it's not as comfortable for them as if they were working with another man. But we're working on that, and we're making progress.
Well, I'm teaching sound engineering for music once a year, and normally in my class I got 14 students, and when I found 2 girls, I'm completely happy because the girls' way of listening is really more critical. Is an additional point, I have to say. So.
Well, I don't know about in Italy, but in America there are numerous studies done on the critical listening abilities between male and females, and overwhelmingly every study, the females have better critical listening skills.
It's not difficult for me to believe it. But, for example, in Italy, I can say that we are probably 20 years back, and it will take time because justice, except I'm talking about technical people around justice, is 95% men. Well, no, I'm not talking about attorney, I'm not talking about judici, public minister, but about technical people, audio engineering and medical, 95% is man. So,
but you will get there. We had the same problem.
I'm sure.
We are making progress.
Maybe so my daughter, maybe.
Yeah. Well, if she grows up around you, absolutely. She'll have no choice.
Yeah, probably. And there is a funny case you want to share with us.
A funny case? Well, I don't know how much I can say, but my funniest cases are always men and women. Always men and women who tape each other.
Okay.
Infidelity is always my funniest case.
Yes. Mine also.
I get a man, he says to me, Jennifer, you must take the noise out of this. I said, okay. He goes, I leave every day for work, and I leave a recorder under my bed. And I think my wife is sleeping with the landlord. I said, okay. So I listened to it, and it's graphic in nature. And he says to me, well, I said, well, what's the point? What do you want to get out of this? What do you want me to focus on? And he goes, I need the mattress. It squeaks too much. Take all the squeaks out so I can hear what's going on. So I spent all day listening to this afternoon that his wife was having with the landlord, so I can take out all of the mattress, the squeaking out of the whole
Incredibile. Incredibile. And I got a similar case, but a woman that was recording his man hid a recording and say, yeah, you can listen, there is sex over there. Okay, I had a listen and say, yes, but it actually is not your husband, but it's a porno. It's in English. Are you sure?
Exactly. Those are my best cases. A man thought, I left a recorder and my wife is home watching the baby. I know she's having an affair. And it's one of the rare cases where I said, no, your wife is not having an affair. She's watching, I don't know if you have this in Italy, but since we have such a huge Spanish population in America, I go, she's watching the afternoon telenovas. That's what she's watching. That's what he was reporting in Spanish soap operas, and he had no idea.
No, no, incredibile. And she also when I said this is a porno, yeah, no, it's not. Yes, listen, you can hear the mouse click, tick, tick, tick. He's watching a porno. Anyway, and psychoacoustic is really a problem because when people think to listen something, the brain is helping them to listen to it, and sometimes people are paying to ask you to listen the same things that they want, and it's painful. I think that for me is the worst part of my job. Anyway.
Well, I always tell people, I say it's called bias. I don't know if you have that.
Yes,
it may not be the same word in Italy.
The same.
I always explain to them, I said, you've probably listened to this 200 times before you came to me. You've already made up your mind what it is and what it's not. I said, so I need you to clear and have a blank slate. And I know that's going to be very hard. And let me do my job and be open to my results.
Yes.
Because I don't know if they have this expression in Italy, I have no skin in this game, which means what the output is that it's not for you or for me to be right. It's just the science.
Super partes, yes. Is the same, yes. And going to another important subject of our job, this is voice comparison. Mm-hmm. And we are still in the statistic, in the probability of one voice can be another or not. And personally, I've tested voice comparison software. I tried I can say the best in the market as a beta tester, and at the first sight I was happy because I put this voice in there and this voice in there. I push a button and I got a similarity. And then I made some further test with my personal voice. I record my voice in driving a car, and I send a voice message by WhatsApp, then a clear voice. And the test results were random. Is the same voice? Probably not. Well, I know my voice. And so, after now, it's 4 years trial, I don't have any software that is helping me for voice comparison. I'm still using the free Prat and Mathematic and my hearing. What is your experience with voice comparison software and where we are now, in your opinion?
Okay, well, in my opinion, from the beginning, before the start of this, it's been up and down. It's been up and down. Every time we get a little bit ahead and make some progress, then we create more problems. So I know in the United States, there's practices and there's standards set up, but as far as the general feeling amongst the legal community, in the United States right now, we can use it for investigative purposes. You cannot use it for identification or elimination.
Okay.
So you may run some tests, you may use some critical listening. It's a guideline. Okay. It's a suggestion. It's not. 25 years ago, it would be used as evidence, sound evidence in trials. But they found, just as you found, and everyone else that has tested every single different method or software, whether it be biometric or automatic or there's too many problems. And when it hinges on someone's freedom, now that we're pulling back from that and saying, okay, we can use this as a tool and see where it goes, but we cannot use it to identify or eliminate a suspect.
Yeah. So you are in Europe. We got the ENFSCI that gives some best practice and guidelines too, and let's say that some wrong engineer and audio forensics is using this kind of weak tools in order to get more customers, because with these numbers you can decide what to tell to the software. What is the answer? But the problem is that the software at the moment is not helping, and I think that because of the voice limits, will not in the future. What is your opinion about this? Do you think that in the future we will feel this lack of technology?
I hope so. I really hope so. It would be, if it was accurate and reliable, as much as like a DNA fingerprint.
Yes.
Then it will be extremely useful.
Do you have a lot of cases in the United States about voice comparison?
And like I said, I personally believe that we need to stop and use it as a tool, but not as, it's 100% it's this person, or it's 100% not this person. I don't think that we're there yet.
Okay.
Everyone thought we were 20 years ago, and everyone was very excited, even the FBI. But even the FBI have pulled back. And said, wait.
They were comparing just the spectrogram view of the vocals, and then they find out that was not the correct way. But it took some times actually.
Yes, the spectrogram. I mean, there's three plots. There's the spectrogram view. There's the formats. There's a program called multi-speech where you can, see the consonants and formats as they're being formed from the speakers. There's biometric, and that's wonderful. And I think we're making progress. And 20 years ago, we thought, before we had all the technology to double check the errors and the conclusions, we thought we were well on our way for this to be the next fingerprint, the next DNA analysis. Now we realize, after years, that may not be the case right now.
Yeah.
So, but I'm hopeful, that the technology will exist one day where we can rely upon it.
Hopefully.
In
your opinion, what is the professional field that best lends to the approach of forensic audio? I mean, musicians, sound engineer, linguistic, or mathematic doctors. What is, if you want to start to be an audio forensics, in your opinion, what is the best background to start with?
Well, a listening appreciation of any type, whether it be for music or conversation, because as humans, we have a tendency to overspeak one another, especially where I come from, where we talk very fast and on top of each other all the time. And the ability to critically listen is underrated. That's one of the main characters, because I work with a lot of audio engineers, and I train a lot of audio engineers. And even though they have the gift of listening and music, you know what their problem is? They try to make it perfect. They over analyze way too much. They over clarify. They over enhance, because they in their head they think they're making a record. So they over process.
Okay.
And in over processing, they lose information. So I always tell all of my audio engineer students that the goal is not perfection. The goal is intelligibility.
Bravo. Because we're not talking about the best records of the new artist of the moment, but we are talking about, I have to find a new words inside this mess.
Yeah, well, it's wonderful to be that precise and looking for perfection when you're making a record. I applaud you. That's the way it should be. But if we over-process when we're doing audio forensics, we might lose speech. Yes. We might lose something very important that needs to be brought to the forefront that you may not have if you keep looking for that perfection in the recording. So that is why I always say having appreciation of music and audio engineering is a firm and great foundation. I always have to tap them on the shoulder and say, it's not perfection, it's intelligibility.
Yes.
That we're looking for.
It is, because with the software that we are using. Yesterday was released the Isotope RX10, that is a great tool for example, audio restoration. But if you are using it for audio restoration, you will not have intelligibility. So you have to learn how to use it for audio forensics. There is no course for this. And it's like in Italy, you got a lot of ancient arts. It's like small and small and small and small in order to don't destroy the art. It's just clean it a little bit more, but not completely like it was made.
Well, I find it helpful because I do use Isotope. But the things that I find extremely helpful is the Cardinal Mini Lab plugins made from the company Salient Sciences. Now, when you pair those two together, I think you have an extremely strong product that can assist you in audio forensics. And that company, although it is in the United States, they actually have a 1-week course that is in-depth that'll teach you how to use both products or Adobe Audition, if they're similar, and with their plugins to achieve, the intelligibility that we need in a forensic recording.
Interesting to know, because I never know this, and for sure I will take a look, and maybe I will take a course too, because it's really interesting. I just know Isotope RX and Spectral Layer, and I've tested some, let's say, not very useful tools, but if you say this, I'll trust you, and for sure I will take a look. And do you had the chance to work forensics with another audio forensics, for example, from Asia or Europe or another country?
Well, I've worked cases from other countries, but I've never had and I've met other professors and other teachers from other countries, but I've never worked side by side or hand in hand with another audio forensic expert from another country.
Okay, audio forensics actually, it's a thought now that is a lonely job. You stay a lot alone in your studio. Actually, you don't travel so much to get the files. They send you, so it's correct. It's normal to work maybe 4 hands. Maybe we can make a job, me and you, but we never shake a hand actually.
Well, and that's another thing. What I do travel for, because as far as, and I don't know how it is in Italy, but as far as the chain of evidence in the United States, it's very important. And sometimes when I go to extract, even though they only want the audio, I will go and extract surveillance video from a local store or, so that's why I'm saying it works hand in hand. You need to know both. So even though I go and I extract the video, what they're interested in is the audio.
Okay, the chain of custody also in here is very, very important. And next week I will go into a jail to get some files. And but actually it's a lonely work. I mean, it's difficult that I talk with somebody during the day. Maybe it's 10 hours or 12 hours in my studio listening to everybody else except real people around me. Probably it's the longest conversation that I had in front of a laptop since 2 years between me and you now. And are there any project of yours that you would like to tell us about in order to close this really nice interview for which I thank you? There is something that you want to share with us that is upcoming in your business or in your life?
Well, the problem with America is we're not, unless we have to sign a disclosure that says we can't discuss our upcoming cases, unfortunately. But there's a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of good stuff on the horizon, and I have a lot of fun audio that I can discuss with you that's coming up this week, because I have a big divorce case between two very, very famous people and lots of recordings.
Really?
So that will be my comic relief. That will be my fun. Because then I can put all the murders and the shootings on the back burner for a while.
Okay.
So do you hash all of your audio files when you receive them?
Yes, absolutely. It's the first things that I'm doing. I mean, when I receive a file, normally the hash is like the car, la targa, the car numbers. We got the different. I use normally two algorithms, SHA and MD5, and then every operation that I do is with a copy of the file. If you want to answer, no problem. We can repeat the question.
No. I'm trying to lower it.
Okay.
So it'd be easy for you to
Okay.
get rid of it later.
And normally everything is I do with a copy of the file, and I never touch the original one. But actually,
Of course, yeah.
it's interesting this question because sometimes I ask to the customer, they give you a file with a strange name, and they modify this. Yes, the attorney gave this, blah blah blah. Okay, there is no any SHA number, so means that you can say it's not the original. You finish, you win.
Sometimes. I always tell the attorneys and the law enforcement that I work with, I said, keep the original, keep the file name exactly as it was extracted from whatever recording device that it was made on, and then make a digital bit-for-bit copy. And then if you want to take that copy and make it easier for you to find in your file explorer, then you can change the name of the file, because if you change the name of the file, it won't change the hash.
Exactly.
But that's all you're allowed to do. That's it.
That's it. Exactly.
That's it. And then I always ask the attorneys or the people that I get the files from, I said, hey, did you hash this before you sent this to me? Did you hash this when you received it? If you're not the first person that received it, do you get the hashes from the other guy that sent it to you? And more than not, at least 75% of the time, it hasn't been. It needs to be authenticated. We need file documentation. We have to verify the integrity of the file, because I don't want, especially once it comes into my care, for them to say that I modified it in any way. And I want to be able to hand it back to them with the same hash and say, no, there are no modifications to this file.
Yeah. And normally what I'm doing is a letter, an assignment letter, in which, okay, I can verify what you gave me, but how was before if I don't catch the file directly from your mobile or from your recorder, and then I sign with I check the hash value also of my restored file. I mean, you got the hash file of the original one and also of the copy that I made, because everything is from there. The chain, the custody chain is very, very, very important in our job. Okay.
Yes, and also, I find with the media information and the hexadecimal data, that's something that I also take a look at, especially if it's an authenticity case, because they could say, oh, I made this file on an iPhone XS22, blah, blah, blah. And then you look at the hexadecimal information and it's a different phone. So it's interesting that, again, we're moving more into also computer forensics. The umbrella gets bigger and bigger and bigger about what we're expected to do to maintain the integrity of these files. Yeah. And especially with authenticity cases, you want to make sure that the information that you're being told is true and that you can confirm it.
Yeah.
So, just doing a hash, looking at the media information, looking at the hexadecimal data, that all comes into play when you're doing an authenticity analysis.
Yeah. So, I made you a lot of questions, and do you have any other question from you to me? Also about Music Live, whatever you want.
No, I'm glad to know that, Italy is right there along with us as far as jumping into the audio forensic world. And how do you feel as far as do you work with law enforcement often?
Sorry, can you repeat?
Do you work with law enforcement often? Do you work together?
With the other audio forensics?
The police.
Oh, yes, together, no. Many times against, actually.
On the other side. Understood.
No, I mean, there are cases in which I'm involved to justify their job, and sometimes customer and their attorney ask me, well, they tell me it's my voice, but it's not me, and so I have to make some report, sometimes against police, and so it's not nice because it's not. I'm for police, of course, but sometimes they made mistake.
Job.
They made mistake too.
Yes, we're all human. We're all human.
Yeah, it's been a really really nice, and I have to say also fun interview with you, and I'm really happy to have met you and to have had the opportunity to talk with you, and
Likewise.
I'm sure that people that was listening to you will be happy actually. Thank you very much for your time. I will publish it on YouTube, and if you want to link your future job or results about this divorce, I will for sure upload the link. Ok, Jenny, Jennifer, grazie mille. If one day you will come to Italy, a glass of red wine together with my family, and will be really really nice for me and for us. And one day maybe we will come to New Jersey too.
I like that a lot.
Grazie
mille. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak with you.
Grazie mille.